we get started, I'm just going to ask that throughout the show we have everybody seated, and we want to keep this space in front of the glass, in front of the stage here, this sidewalk, clear. You might not startle the sea lions, but you'll definitely startle me if you're standing there. So, my name is Frank. I'm part of the interpretive staff here at Como Park Zoo and Conservatory, and you are going to see a demonstration of the training we do with our pinnipeds. So raise your hands if you've heard the word pinniped before. Okay, a couple of you, actually quite a few of you for this early on a Friday, who's never heard the word pinniped before, or at least until about 10 seconds ago. Okay, that's more expected. You don't tend to run into a whole lot of pinnipeds just traveling around Minnesota. But pinniped is a fancy way of saying thin-footed animal, and we use it to describe members of 3 different groups of marine mammals. We have members of 2 of those groups here at Como. So one type of pinniped are seals, and we're home to 2 harbor seals and a gray seal. And if everything goes according to plan, we'll be joined by Wally, who is our gray seal, on stage here in just a minute. But these are living things. They make their own decisions. Taking care of animals at a zoo involves letting them make their own choices as much as possible. And sometimes they have internal schedules that don't quite match up with ours. So I like to tell the audience, if you don't know what to expect for a Sparky show, at this point in the show, I don't really know what to expect either. Another group of pinnipeds are sea lions, and we have 3 California sea lions. And then there is a 3rd group of pinnipeds. We don't have any of them here, but can any of you guess what their name is? Walrus, that's a good guess. Are you sure, though? I can give you a couple of hints. They get really big, even bigger than a polar bear. You're going to stick with walruses. What was that? Narwhal, excellent. So, yeah, there are 2 marine mammals that have tusks and whal in their name. Which one's a pinniped? Narwhal, walrus? It's been walrus all along, but thank you for mentioning narwhals. So let's have a round of applause for our keepers and our pinnipeds as they join us on stage. So this big guy joining us on stage right here is Wally. Wally is a gray seal. So Sparky shows have been a tradition at Como since 1956. For a very long time, they were advertised as Sparky the Seal shows, but in truth, Sparky, our official Sparkies have all been sea lions. And sea lions and seals have a couple of differences. If we look at Wally right here, notice his flippers are kind of short. They just barely reach the ground. And as he moves in a way I like to call flooping. That's the scientific term for that form of locomotion. So he'll use his hind flippers to kick, and that's also his swimming pattern too. That's how he swims in the water, by kicking with his hind legs, and those stubby little front flippers help him steer. Now, sea lions can rotate their flippers under their body and walk on all fours almost as if they have legs. To me, they kind of look like a bear wearing a onesie that's a size too small. Wally here looks like a bear trying to kick a sleeping bag that he's got his legs tangled in. Now, the type of training we do here, this is called operant conditioning with positive reinforcement. Did you all get that? Because there'll be a quiz at the end. It sounds complicated, but it just means that his trainer will ask Wally for a behavior, and then when he does that behavior, he will get a reward. And can anybody guess what kind of reward he is enjoying right now? You're exactly right, fish. Both seals and sea lions hunt fish in their native habitat. So seals like Wally rely on being able to accelerate in a straight line, where sea lions rely on their maneuverability. Now, seals will spend a lot of time on their own, hunting alone. They can hold their breath for a very long time, even longer than sea lions. Sea lions will hunt in groups and tend to cooperate. So Wally basically just has to rely on his acceleration to catch fish. He'll just chase them straight down. Now, there are a couple components to our training. He knows what behavior he's being asked to do because the zookeeper will give him a cue. And with most of our animals, it's a combination of a hand signal and a word that they say. But Wally is a very special seal, actually. So he is a rescue. He used to live in the wild. He lived off the coast of Maine until he had an accident. And he actually suffered injuries to his eyes. And he was found at about 6 months old, with injuries to his eyes. And he was taken to a marine mammal rehabilitation center in Maine and deemed unreleasable. So now he lives here. And we've been able to adapt our training to help him out. So you'll notice the target, the orange ball on a stick that the zookeeper's been using, the ball is actually filled with washers, and so it rattles. And it's a sound that Wally has learned to recognize. And so he will follow that. And we use usually visual targets, usually blue and white boys on a stick with our other animals. And for both Wally and everybody else, the target is a way we use to shape their behaviors. So when he's learning something new, because these aren't tricks he's doing, these are husbandry behaviors. They're all related to animal health care, which is what husbandry means. So right there he was doing a body present where he'll hold very still, and the zookeeper will check his skin and fur for any abrasions or injuries. And it also gets him used to being touched that way. That's the way a vet might have to in a exam. Who gets really excited when it's time to go to the vet? Anyone? Who gets excited when it's time to go to the doctor? Because vet and doctor, either way, it works out the same. Now, dental health care is very important for our animals, so we'll ask them for, basically a mouth present, have them open up and say, ah. Who brushes their teeth every day?
Do you brush your teeth?
Honestly, if I don't see every hand up in the audience, I'm going to have some questions. But even our seals and sea lions will get their teeth brushed. But with those little flippers, he can't hold the brush himself, so we'll do that for him. Now, as you can see, he's nothing but graceful on land as well as in water. And these guys are native to very cold oceans. That's why they have all the level 4 insulation. Joining us on the main stage right now, this guy on the step here, that is Nico. And diving right into the water, that is Subi. These guys are California sea lions. Now you can see the difference. They move much more easily on land. Subi is our official Sparky number 7, as she makes very clear jumping through that hoop. So even though some of these behaviors might be very impressive, like jumping through the hoop, these are husbandry behaviors. Doing these things help us see what their agility, what their strength, what their balance is like on any given day. And because we do this training every day, we can see right away if anything changes. Now, what would you call that last move? It's not really a handstand, because sea lion, no hands. Maybe a chin stand. And judging from your reactions, there is another purpose to this training. It's to give you guys a chance to see our animals as individuals and develop empathy towards them. Now, as we wrap up training, my favorite part to talk about is what I like to call Pinniped popsicles. So who likes to get dessert or some sort of a snack as a reward for doing homework? Maybe getting your favorite flavor popsicle for doing some hard math problems. Now imagine getting herring flavored popsicles. So they get all the ice that was in the bottom of the buckets with their fish. You'll notice they checked out about half of their ice, and then they switched and checked out each other's to make sure no one is getting anything better. So this type of training actually originates among marine mammals like these guys and also cetaceans. But you may have seen training with cookers like this with dogs at, say, Petco or PetSmart, and dog trainers saw marine mammals being trained that way and tried it out, and it turned out it worked. Note to parents, it also works on kids. So does anyone remember what we called this training at the very beginning of the show? Just shout it out. It started with an O. Yep, operant conditioning with positive reinforcement. You were taking notes. Thank you. So one thing I'd like you to do after the show, yes, I'm giving you homework assignments. Check out our other zoo exhibits. If you've already seen everything, that's okay. I'm giving you something new to look for. Look for things like the targets, the hoop, some of the other items that we've used on stage training our animals. Especially look for training areas in our Gorilla Forest and Polar Bear Odyssey exhibits. Those have sections of the exhibit that are sectioned off from the rest of the space for our zookeepers to stand behind mesh and train our animals.